Attractiveness is purely subjective, but one of the things that I always found so interesting is that when people don't feel like you are attractive, they don't feel like other people should find you attractive. And if they do find you attractive, they're appalled at that, and so you're going to be met with rude comments and questions and things of that. But they also don't think that you deserve to be treated well or have friends. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed therapist. I've been counseling women and men who have experienced abuse as well as those who have been perpetrators of abuse and other violent crimes. And there's all this stuff going on the internet, all this chitter chatter about, pretty privilege and, what it's like to be ugly and things like that. And, I don't really get into the whole, judging people by physical appearance, but I know that I myself, I get judged for my physical appearance. Even now, all the time, people hop in my inbox and say this and that and the other thing, you don't look good, you're lazy eye and blah, 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 all this other kind of stuff, right? People that don't even know me, and they feel so inclined. Even if I make a post and people don't agree with me, that's the first thing they do. A lot of men, at least with male profiles, they will jump in and tell me, you're this and you're that. But none of that really phases me. And people get like that. That's actually a normal occurrence where, if you date someone who's attractive, if you've been in relationships with attractive people, if people view themselves as looking better or they view you as not being attractive, they don't think that you deserve to be with an attractive partner. And I'll use myself for an example because I've always dated, when I've been in relationships with people, they've always been very attractive. And, I would get all kinds of comments like, oh my God, you always, I'm met with contempt, from family members and other people like that. Like, you always get such attractive people. I don't understand it. That kind of stuff, that sort of rhetoric where it's just like, oh, what is he doing with you? Like, I don't get it. Like, how do you manage to pull, never mind the fact that I guess they don't think I'm an amazing person, whatever. I think they think that I deserve to be with a dog, essentially. But there's all this sort of chitter chatter around that in these offensive questions, and I don't really get into it, and I certainly move a lot differently now, but there is sort of this like, how could they be with you? You don't even look like half of this, right? And so there's that. But then there's also the other aspect of it where like people don't think that other people should be friends with you or want to include you in other activities based off of the way you look. So I personally have encountered things like that too. Or like when you're selected over other people for things where they have wanted to be selective, they feel like, oh, I'm better than you. I may be white. I'm white, so I'm better than you by default. Those kinds of things where it's just like this unspoken rule, but they quickly show their hand when I have been selected for certain things. So I'll give you an example, another personal example. Years ago when I was in the internship, there was a guy that I used to work with, and he and I, we would go back and forth, and it was banter all the time. We would argue all the time. But we respected each other as far as the workplace went, but we would kind of give it to each other. And so this guy, he got married. He was getting married. And so he comes into the workplace one day and he's like, oh, Natalie, I'd like for you to be my groomswoman. Whoa. You would have thought that like, I don't know, you would have thought that the next apocalypse was coming. There were so many people that just could not understand it. and he happened to be a white guy, and a lot of the other people that we worked with in the workplace were white, and they just could not contain it. They were like, how could he choose you? Like, I'm a better selection than you would be. Like, you guys, you do this and you do that. And I'm like, well, that was his choice. And so, but he was adamant about it. And he was like, this would really mean a lot to me if you're my groomswoman. So fine, but a lot of people had something to say about that. And he asked me, and he asked another girl, and even the other girl he asked, she had a lot of contempt for me. He only asked me because he knows that you wouldn't do it without me. And it was just like all this stuff that people felt comfortable with saying, and like, just like whatever. But there's attractiveness, I say all this to say attractiveness is subjective, but there is a lot that goes into how people treat you when they don't feel like your looks, and your looks could purely be like, the fact that you're black or you're a person of color, that can play a part into it, that people don't think you deserve to be treated well, that you don't deserve to be paid well, based off of that. All these other sort of cultural nuances, but in their head, I think you deserve to kind of be thrown on the ground and stomped on and not seen by people like ever, and it's like, well, how did you get this opportunity? How did you get that opportunity? Why would people give you an opportunity with you looking like that, with you being black, or, this and that and the other? So there's all these kind of things that go into it. But, that's just something I wanted to put out there. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks so much.